Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to my page, Come Find Out. This is episode 12 of my podcast series, and I've decided to bring in guests onto my podcast series as I go on. This is Güner abi, my former teacher. If you want to introduce yourself a bit to the viewers.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say I'm very honoured to be on your podcast. So thank you for inviting me. My name is Güner Hussein. I've pretty much been born and bred in Melbourne, and basically just your average second generation Turkish Australian trying to live life in Australia with a couple of identities, I guess, both being, Turkish Muslim and Australian. Basically I've had a past life of being a teacher. Hence I was Talha's teacher at one stage.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
From year 7 to year 10.
Yeah, exactly. I think I grew a wide net of youngsters and people that I now know through teaching. Then I decided to go off and venture on becoming a lawyer and doing some legal work because that's what I studied. But yeah, this sort of hasn't been a very steady one. It was just been sort of up and down with legal work, then some other work. But yeah, alhamdulillah, just to keep moving along, basically.
Definitely, yeah. No, we are like in many ways where we've had our fair share of experiences with work and life, and that's my main preach on my page anyway. And I definitely love Yunarab's input both as a lawyer, as a teacher as well throughout his life, and we'll discuss a topic that he wants to preach, and that's what I'll invite all my guests to do. He'll pick a topic that he thinks is important to preach on our page today, and we'll discuss that.
Okay, so I had to think about what I could be discussing, and I think what stands to me as an important issue is basically the issues that young males or men face in their lives and how that affects various aspects of their lives. And I've, just with subjective with life in general, for me, it's been something that I've had to work on and discover that there are some things that we, I guess, didn't focus on or didn't take seriously the attributes as a male that we should be focusing on and talking about more in our circles. And what I mean by that is things as small as like what sort of habits have we built? Are the habits just those things that it's just constant? It's constant pursuit of instant gratification, or is it like things where it may appear to not be so satisfying or may be boring, but it's good habits that ensure that you're in a good mindset, you're in a good mental well-being, and it sort of pivots you to tackle the difficult things in life. So things that I can specifically talk about is like, what sort of conversations are we having amongst ourselves? Like, are we encouraging things like, just a little bit of this bad habit, or a little bit of that bad habit won't harm? Is these the conversations we're having, or are we actually encouraging each other to do good? Like that one thing that you do may then bring a vicious cycle of more of it to come, and then it destroys things in your life, such as relationships, your productivity at work, so on and so forth. It's especially in a time when there's so much distractions and noise. It's so critical to be able to really focus on these and have those. Do we have the in our lives, do we have scaffolds in place to be able to keep ourselves balanced and focused, or do we allow, I guess, our carnal selves to just do whatever it wants to do, and we just follow its lead? So, are you able to control the amount of time you're on your social media or the things that you should be doing, or you're constantly chasing thrills and sort of allowing that to dictate how your life is? So how much discipline is there in your lives? Because it's just for us growing up in Australia in a Western culture where everything's literally given to us with a silver dish, having that sort of discipline, inner discipline, and then surrounding people and other things around us that's going to keep us in check is quite difficult, I feel.
Definitely, yeah. And that's my whole preach on my page anyway. Just raw topics that I think should be talked about, topics that we like to avoid, things that we don't like to talk about. Discipline in a country like Australia, especially where we're so comfortable. How are we spending our days? What are we doing with our time? Are we practicing spiritually? Are we trying to read more, pray more, and become better within our characteristics more than money and just running after materialistic stuff? One question that I would like to ask is if there was anything that you want to preach, especially to, let's say, the younger generation that's 18 to 21, which I believe is very difficult times. What would kind of be your advice to the younger men out there that's kind of starting out life, whether it's uni, whether it's trade work, or any sort of stepping into the actual independence away from home? What would be the one main thing that you would like to preach to them?
Um, Not only to them, but if to my younger self as well.
Yeah,
This is what I'd say to them. Look, we're gonna make mistakes, right? We're gonna make mistakes. We, as human beings, are created not perfect. We're
yeah,
sort of defective in creation because the creator is the perfect one. We're not. So we're gonna have our faults and our defects, but being aware of this will allow you to take things seriously, basically,
yeah,
like that. I'm not perfect. If I don't have the safeguards around me to protect myself, um, I'm vulnerable and weak enough to fall into those troubles. But even you will fall. You will fall into mistakes, into things that you're going to tirelessly do, whether it's immorally correct within your religion, or just universal morality, whether it's just not being probably good enough at something, or whatever it is. We're going to have our shortcomings. The biggest thing I would say is don't be hopeless.
yeah,
Don't ever be hopeless. There is a creator that's more powerful than all of us, and if he wants, he can just in an instant change things for us. So doesn't matter if things aren't going the way you want, whether it's in your career, when you start your independent life, things aren't panning out the way you imagine it to be.
yeah,
Um, Basically, just keep moving, regardless of how terrible the circumstance situation may be in. Just move, and then do what you think from the best that you possibly can come up with the research that you possibly do and the advice you get, to do what is necessary to better your circumstances. But just yeah, it's not us, from our skills or our attributes or intelligence that gets us out of it anyway.
yeah,
We just have to do it as a form of prayer, that then God would create that outcome for us anyway.
definitely.
But hopelessness, shame, and guilt are the biggest triggers, or are the biggest factors that keep us back. And that's what
Yeah,
the shaitan wants from us anyway,
yeah,
to stay hopeless, to just get stuck in your rut and not try to do anything about it. And then the more you in that guilt and shame cycle, then the harder it is to get out.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd 100% agree with that. It's more, as Gunnar said, it's more about momentum and action and execution. So the biggest thing that we do these days, even at this age, me being 29, as humans, as Gunnar stated, we are weak. We procrastinate a lot. We overthink. And the biggest solution to I found, and I would recommend to anyone younger out there as well, is just momentum and execution in a sense where you just keep moving and keep trying over and over again, keeping in mind with the fact that you got to always be confident. And that's one thing that as a teenager, a lot of people struggle with. I've struggled with as well. We tend to try to be people pleasers, into always trying to fit in and trying to fulfill other people's satisfaction before our own goals and our own achievements. In saying that, though, I believe that you got to be nice and still keep your respect, but there is that thin line of, are you looking out for yourself or are you becoming a people pleaser? So that's definitely very important to keep in mind as well. Um, Another question I'd like to ask on this is, if there was anything that you would want to do different, let's say going back in time, any sort of actions that you'd want to take, um, if we had a magic time machine where, oh, this is just something that always comes to my mind as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
what would I kind of tell myself, 18-year-old self, if I saw myself? To be honest, I'd if I looked at myself when I was 18, I'd probably be like, yeah, he's a sick cunt. He's not too bad, you know. But like, more than general advice, this is more specific and personal. Well, if you had that sort of scenario, what would the conversation be like?
Yeah, it's a good question. And then before I answer that, coming to what you're saying about people pleasing, it's very, very important to first give yourself, save yourself before you save others, right? Because if you don't, if you're not able to fix your own backyard, then you can't really assist with fixing other people's backyards, or it starts with yourself. You fix your bed first, you fix your own backyard, make it look good, and then
Definitely.
hopefully it'll trickle over to the neighborhood, right? And then the neighborhood will be inspired, hopefully, to do their bit as well, and then it will be a very nice neighborhood. Sometimes they have like rules with the council where it has to be at a certain length, certain whatever.
Exactly.
So it comes to that point where there's importance put into that. It's like the cliche example of it where you put, the oxygen mask first. You put it for yourself before you help others.
Yeah.
So definitely finding ourselves, like really finding ourselves. What are the things that we've lived through? Why do we do the things that we do? What is the actual underlying reasons? Like, it's not just the action itself. Why do you do the action? Why, for example, why do you have anxiety? Anxiety is about the fact that you feel lonely, right? That's where anxiety kicks in usually, like lonely, sad, or whatnot, or you feel forgotten, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to come up with something for yourself to say that you're not forgotten.
Yeah.
You're always are remembered, probably more than you would imagine. So that would be like, in Islam, we believe that by remembering God and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and doing salawat, we say it once, we get rewarded 10 times. Like,
exactly.
we're not forgotten. It's just waiting for us. Come on, come.
Yeah.
And I will befriend you. I will give you that satisfaction in your heart. So coming to the question of what I would say to myself, this is the thing, right? Me growing up, being brought up, I knew a lot of these things. So I was learning about the religion at an early age. I was participating in Islamic activities and all that, and we're learning a lot of things, and we're trying our best to live it. But there was this other side. There's this other side that that without realizing, because of your surroundings and all that, you are inculcating some other system of belief.
Yeah.
So it's like, not really, dunya is not that important. Akhirah is. But then your actions say something else, like career. It's like, I want to be the best lawyer, for example,
Yeah,
as an example. That was something in my head. And
definitely.
when I couldn't reach it, or I was trying to apply for jobs and I couldn't get the legal work, for example, I was getting
Yeah,
extremely disappointed. So it was like a conflicting, conflicting feelings of identity
yeah,
where I'm trying to be one, but then I was without, then I had this other side of me where it was wanting the dunya as well.
yeah,
Um, I
definitely.
would brush it off saying, well, look at everyone else. And this is where it comes to where being responsible for your own actions is so important. It's so
Yeah,
critical. Because the moment we start comparing ourselves to everyone else, you get stuck in the rut.
definitely.
And you won't feel the consequences of that now, where you focus on, like when I'm in focus, of course you're gonna try to build a career and stuff. It's the inside what you feel in your heart. That's what it means. You aim for it, but then you should be like, if I don't get it, it's all right. If
Yeah,
I don't get it, it's all right. It's just a job. It's just for
100%.
halal rizq. I'm not gonna even be questioned about it, And um, if it's, sometimes you push it, and it just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah,
It's not happening. So then you know what you do, you
exactly.
start attributing it to yourself. But it's
Yeah,
got nothing to, even when you get something, or you're successful in something, it's not from you anyway, it's from Allah. It's from the creator, the intelligent being that sustains you and allows you to progress in life. So we don't know like what's good for us really in essence. You think that this pathway is good because you got to make a decision.
yeah,
But then what you know lately or recently I've been really working on is to myself saying, if I'm getting pushed another direction, it's okay, because it's by the one who really truly um, is the most merciful, admires and loves me
yeah,
and wants the best for me.
exactly.
Because who knows? I don't know why I'm getting pushed that like another direction. But all I know is I trust in the process. I trust in him that he's doing it because it's for my own betterment in the long run. So I can be nearer to him. I can actually be that servant male that God wanted us to be, basically.
Definitely, definitely. No, I 100% agree with that. And as you said as well, it's at a younger age we tend to really push saying we have to make it, and we make it a rule on ourselves, where it's almost compulsory. And I've lived that experience throughout many experiences of jobs and businesses as well, where I went into a business thinking I know how to do this A, B, and C, right? And technically you do. And when you look at the world and social media, someone that's really educated and someone that has all the qualifications and they tick all the boxes don't get rich, but then some other person that has zero experience or zero qualifications in a way gets what they call lucky, and they become rich. So there's an important story here, there's an important lesson here, and Islam emphasizes that very clearly as well, where Allah says that he will give richness and risk and any sort of earthly material things that Allah pretty much chooses at the end of the day. So that's very important to keep in mind as well, to just really calm down a bit at times and realize that not everything we do or the things that we think are right aren't always right. And the only way you can do that, and even till today, I still question myself, I still doubt myself, but I can never know the future. No one can ever know tomorrow. But the one prayer that I like to make, or the one mindset that I like to have, is I just pray saying, if this is the right decision to Allah, then show me the path in the way where if it's right, let me continue it. But I also keep in mind, in the back of my mind, saying, hold on a minute, not everything I say or do is gold as well, right? Like I could be wrong. So you got to always kind of reevaluate yourself. As Gunnar Abi said, just kind of always question yourself, saying, am I doing the right thing? If it doesn't work out, sometimes those blocks, those reasons that don't happen maybe could be a sign of saying this isn't the way to go for you. And we can never truly know that until time passes by, but it's more of the process, exactly what you said. It's more about the present moment of what are you doing right now? What are you doing within the 24 hours? What are you doing with your thoughts and your process now? If you trust in Allah and you keep a positive mindset and you keep an open mindset, that's when you'll see, as Islam says, Allah will open up doors that you wouldn't even expect. Like not in a million years would I have thought. You know, if you told me, going back to our question in year seven, that we're gonna do this podcast with my teacher, right? But Allah opens up doors in ways that you don't expect. So that's the most amazing thing about it.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's what you just remind me of another student of mine that said the same thing. He's like that's just life works in mysterious ways. Where it was in my class and he wasn't probably it wasn't his favorite subject, and he used to tell me, "I don't want to be in your subject, whatever." I used to teach religion, and he didn't really want to have much to do with it, or it wasn't a focus in his life. But then, you know, life just does its thing, I guess. And over time, you know, he just reached out. He said, like, I was working at a law firm, and he's like, I started my own business, and the work I'm doing is relevant to what you're doing, and we can do some work. And then since then, you know, I've had contact with him, and yeah, it's just like
MashaAllah.
you. I mean, everyone's done that. I'm sure somewhere in their lives where they've given like eh, someone in their life a chance, you know, or time or whatever, um, regardless of what your past relationships were, and then sometimes it just blossoms into something you never expected. So that's why it's one thing that like we shouldn't practice, and it's very widespread is having an ego, like being egotistic, always thinking that we're better than the person across us, or what benefit is that person going to have. But I think just treating everyone as someone that's valuable,
Yeah,
right? Um, Regardless of how they treat you back, and not having any expectation is probably the best feeling that one can have in their life, basically.
definitely. So we pretty much grew up in like the same sort of environment, Melbourne, Australia, as Gunnar stated as well. We've like I've stated to before on my other posts as well. We have a religious surrounding, right? So both parents, family, and friends. But at times, I feel like the issue I find, or the question that I like to ask myself, is why. Again, it goes back to the same sort of thing where you tick all the boxes, right? You have religious parents, let's say religious friends, yet you still can't find Islam, yet you still tend to um, stray away from Allah. And that's the next question that I sort of want to ask, not in a negative way, where we're not trying to play the blame game here, or we're not trying to play politics, but we're really just trying to get into topics that aren't spoken as much, I believe, that we really should address, because we tend to think, or automatically, without good or bad intentions, right? We automatically assume that, oh, if we go to a religious school and if we do this A, B, and C, things are going to work out well. But speaking on my behalf, that didn't always work out the best for me. So my next question would be, what would be your advice for someone, especially the younger generation, or even at our age? We're never too old to learn and change our ways. What would be your approach to a person, not a person that is, that I only state this not as to judgment, but just to clarify my point. A person where they're not on religion, they're already, they come from a non-religious family and they don't go to a religious school and whatnot, which is, these are all wrong statements, right? I only state these just to get my point across. But what would be your advice to someone that's, you're telling them, saying pray and discipline, and they've pretty much grown up their whole life being told that through everyone, through their teachers, through the adults, through their parents, yet they still can't find Islam. They still can't find that connection to Allah. So that's like the kind of preach that I always try to get at, like, what's the bottom issue of this, throughout many of my posts. What would be your opinion and approach to this sort of problem, I guess, that we're facing?
Yeah, it's actually like I think it would be very different for everyone, but there's probably couple of things that we can probably agree on. Uh, Mutually, the things that like might be similar across the board. Um, like the issue there, I think I find, when we are brought up in these environments is something called ghafla. We go through ghafla, which is like familiarity. When you're familiar with something, you heard it again. It's like, oh, I'm full now. I'm full of listening to this stuff. So when you're in that circle or per se in that bubble, you don't really know why it's so important and how it has a profound impact in your life. So I think one of the advice I would say is really to get out there, like, and see what other environments there are. Obviously, without putting yourself into danger.
Yeah.
But yeah, mixing with other people as well. So you got obviously your core group, but that should not restrict you from actually getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah, that's like because otherwise it's either that or life's going to teach you anyway. Why it's important. You one way or the other, things is just going to slap you around, and then that's when you're going to find out why that was important. But I mean, that's just it's human nature. I think this is just how it works as well. That's God. That's in God's hands. That's stuff. I'm not going to say do this so you can go for a test. That's in God's thing. But with what we could do is like first and foremost, go like meet other people, go into different circles, and see what life is for them. Right? Like, see, are they extremely satisfied? You know, what kind of lifestyle do they live? Are they really happy or not? Second thing would be, like you're struggling to find, I guess, passion or whatnot in religion, or you might be questioning why it's very important. If you're not feeling it, I would also say just stick to the minimum.
Yeah.
At least stick to the minimum. If you're struggling, like, to pray 5 times a day, just do the fast, for example, and just because one thing I've heard across the board from people that have had some really difficult phases or dark times in their lives is what got them out of it is to just stick to the core.
Definitely.
Like regardless of how many times you've seen you pray, because everyone goes through a different journey, and then sometimes you are going to move away from that circle. Generally speaking, from what like we experience in Australia and probably the rest of the world nowadays. There's going to be times where you're going to be far from religion, and it's going to hit you. You're going to feel empty. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel depressed, or something's going to happen, and you're going to feel something is missing. You're going to feel that because God says that the way of serenity in one's heart is through zikr, of God. If you're not doing zikr, if you're not leaning to the all majestic, the all powerful, the one that's always providing for us, sustaining us, and gives us that calmness in our heart, then all these other materialistic stuff is gonna temporarily, it's gonna feel good, but eventually it's gonna catch up with you, because if somewhere along the lines in life things just don't go the way you want. But yeah, sticking to that core will ensure that you will come back, because if you just let everything go for a very long period of time, then it may be a bit hard to come back. Your character starts to form in that direction. So always keep that thing innocence, and that don't feel ashamed. Like if you've made mistakes, just keep praying, whatever. Don't listen to what other people say, like, oh, how can you pray and then do this at the same time? It happens. We all do it.
Yeah.
But that at least keeps us back on track, keeps us like with the point is, like, we're not gonna ever reach a destination.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how well or how much knowledge you have, how well you practice Islam, because what's going to get us over the line is actually God's mercy anyway.
Exactly.
It through our actions, probably all of us, just the amount of sins that we've committed, we all deserve to go hell when you look at it. But it's actually through God's mercy. It's not our actions that are going to get us over the line, basically, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, 100%.
It's his mercy. It's because of the love for his creation. He loves us. He created us. So stick to the highway. Just stay on the highway, whether it's from the side or the middle or whatever. And eventually, there'll be a breakthrough in some part of your life where you're just going to be like, this doesn't serve me anymore.
Yeah.
This doesn't serve me. All it does is first you got to admit to yourself it doesn't serve you. Like, when you um, prolong, let's say, sins
Yeah.
for a long period of time, it's because you can't admit to yourself that one, you've done these mistakes, and
Yeah.
secondly, that all the things that you're going through is your responsibility and not someone else's. So
Exactly.
it's like, what happens is, all right, let's say you're going through some episode in your life, you know, let's say you're not doing financial well, all right? That's an example, financial well. And then what you do is you have to, like, you feel crap about yourself.
Yeah.
So what you do is you go to someone and you're like, oh, it's not me that it's not because it's not me that's causing me to be broke. It's my employer doesn't pay me properly or
Mm.
whatever. And then when you tell people, generally speaking, your friends, they're gonna verify it for you. They're gonna say, yeah, you're right, man. You're a good guy. I know you, but like it's this and that. It's the employer. It's it's got nothing to do with you. But what happens is just it keeps you in the same spot.
Definitely.
But when you actually admit to yourself that, hang on, I'm not doing A, B, C, and D, and I've seen it across a period of time. I kept doing it and I kept getting the same results. So it's not going to change. The moment you don't admit it and you don't try to address these issues of, for example, maybe you're just not good at that. Maybe you should be pursuing something else. Or maybe there's some habits in your life that is blocking your rizq because you're not, it's a repeat of a certain sin, for example. Or you're looking at things you shouldn't be. You're listening to things you shouldn't be. You're touching things you shouldn't be, or whatever it is.
Definitely.
Then you don't address these, and then you expect things to change. It's not going to change, basically.
100%. I like the when you said changing the environment. That's definitely a good one as well. Sometimes it's good to really change perspective. Even if you're in a religious environment, it's one that's an eye opener for me that I've never really a perspective that I haven't really thought about. But sometimes even going from this doesn't mean go hang out with people that aren't religious, but maybe even a different group. So with the statement that you gave, you start becoming used to the same sort of talk, the same sort of people, the same sort of lectures, and it doesn't get through to you anymore. So you crave something different. But the second point that you said as well with financial assets that don't bring you happiness, I 100% agree with that as well. I've had times where it was all through finance, but I've had 50, 60, 70K cars on finance, really nice cars for my age and whatnot. But I was going through some really, really deep mental problems. So um, I can still remember till today, it doesn't matter if you've got an AMG outside. Um, I was not mentally there at all. I wasn't happy. Things weren't going well in my life. I did not even enjoy that car. If anything, it honestly, I can say with the bottom of my heart, a $4,000 car, a Holden, and we both drive Holdens now. I've said that to him before as well. That he's got a Captiva, I've got a Combi, but honestly, Alhamdulillah, like, it's such a blessing when you're happy within inside and you're happy to work within yourself and you're truly content with life. Um, Both coming from a background of business and having that experience where we've both kind of seen that chasing money and thinking the idea of, if I achieve this, whether it's through law of my business of hospitality and whatnot, truck driving, we always keep chasing that, thinking, yep, if I do this and if I get this client, if I make this much money, I'm gonna be happy. And there were times where I was making good money, and I'm pretty sure Gunarabi had those times as well. But business, as everyone would know, is always up and down. But even at the times when I was making really good money, at a really crazy wage, I truly wasn't happy. I truly wasn't happy. I would honestly look back now and be like, now I can kind of look back at all those experiences, because I'm leaning towards God, obviously, and I'm trying to still better myself, and still anchoring on to and holding on to the rope of Islam. That is when you truly understand God's plan, I believe. That's when you can actually see why things happened the way they happened. But it's exactly what Gunarabi said as well. If you don't admit that to yourself, if you don't sit down and self-reflect and say, you know what, I'm not praying, I'm sinning, I'm doing wrong, and you're just gonna go around in circles. You're never gonna understand what life is about. You're never gonna truly appreciate what you have. and it's not going to be an eye opener. So awareness is a big one as well, like really opening up your eyes to see why things are happening, what religion is really about, politics, friendship, family, all of these. The only way I believe is to understand and truly have a proper understanding of this is always coming back to yourself, as Gunnar said, and just questioning yourself and saying, don't worry about everyone else. I got to admit that I've done wrong. I got to fix myself up. And exactly as Gunnar stated as well, you could go to 5, 10, 15 friends and they could all tell you the same thing, saying, no, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. But at the end of the day, that's just empty. You're going to go back home. And I've witnessed that many times as well, where I've had DM sessions with a lot of friends, and they told me, no, you're right, and what they did was wrong, but I still went home feeling like crap. So I really like that point that you made. One other question that I'd like to ask is mental health. Would you have any sort of advice, especially today's day and age, people feel kind of ashamed to um, see doctors, psychiatrists, counseling, and especially for men as well. I feel like that's a topic that we avoid quite a bit. What sort of advice would you want to give on that particular topic?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think most of us probably know mental health issues are quite real, because I think we're more susceptible to it nowadays. And I think most of us, especially males, would have experienced how difficult it is on your own to get out of it. But yeah, it's very important to be open minded about it. Like, I think for me as well, when I was going through my mental health struggles, one of the things I realized is, doesn't matter how many times I went to counseling sessions. I've been to counseling sessions, psychologists, and spoke to other various people and
Same
listened to
here.
podcasts or whatever. If, like, truly, if you're not open to muhasabah, it's hard. It's hard because I'll tell you why it was very hard for me. Like, I had the ego. My ego was saying, "You're a lawyer. You know, you're the lawyer." Like, people, for whatever reason, I just felt deep inside that people would value me if I was a lawyer.
Yeah.
All right. And there was some sort of stigma and shame with teaching, for example. That led me to a lot of financial responsibility, because I can see that it wasn't serving me financially. I just kept going deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole because I had to make it as a lawyer, right? So you can already see the ego that's associated with that sort of title. So when you have this chip and ego, whether you realize it or not, or admit it to yourself or not, it makes it harder for you to heal. Like, in Islam, for example, one of the ways to, basically heal yourself, I guess, from mental health issues is to really be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's not the dream job that you wanted or not, right? Let's say you have, financial rizq, you have mental rizq, you have friends, you have kids, you have family, whatever it is, whatever blessings you have in your life. That's, how much gratefulness do you actually practice? And then there's sabr, like how do you really have you internalized that this world, it's not, here for always feeling good about ourselves. I always in a chase or a pursuit of trying to feel good about ourselves, but it's not. It's sometimes you just got to be like, you got to be sabr, like you're going to be stuck in a situation for years on end, and you got to be patient towards it. Like, there's a lot of, the prophet stories where they was in jail or stuck in a well, or they were sick for how many years, like there's so many things, catastrophes that they had to bear as well. And they practice sabr, right? Just because they were religious doesn't mean that life's going to always, they didn't expect life to always go as planned, and they didn't complain about it. And then tawakkul as well. So tawakkul is like just trusting that whatever good or bad is coming at us, that God's got us. I got you. He's saying, I got you. Like, we don't internalize this. We don't have the systems in place for it.
Yeah.
So then we start relying on, I got this friend that's powerful. Don't worry. He's strong, or he's financially strong, or he's physically strong. Don't worry. I'll be looked after. Alhamdulillah, I got this much in my bank.
Yeah.
We start to as soon as we start to lose that stuff that gave us security, that's when mental health kicks in. That is when mental health issues just kick in. And then the ego just prevents you from getting out by saying, hey man, you got to be that good Muslim that does the zikr and prayers that we were teasing.
Yeah.
That guy that like is nobody, yeah, nobody. He just goes to the masjid, whatever. He's a nobody. He's a truck driver or whatever. He does this job. Like we label people for jobs as well. Like,
100%.
do you know what I mean? Like these things are ingrained in us and we don't realize it.
100%. I've been through the same sort of ideology as well, where I thought I was nothing, saying to myself, I'm a truck driver, or I had to put a label on myself and get somewhere and have a certain car or a certain business to even fit into society. And that's why I kept running after business and whatnot. But it's a beautiful point to make. Definitely, you don't need a label to feel important. That's not what jobs labels should not make you feel any different. But unfortunately, as Gunnar stated as well, we do this to ourselves. We tell ourselves saying, if I become this, people are going to think like that. But the truth is, if anything, and I'm pretty sure Gunnar would agree, is at the end of the day, no one cares. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no one cares. that's. Do you care about how much do we care about others?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
How much? Even if you care about everyone else, how much can you do?
Yeah.
You're stuck in your own rut, man. Like, you know what I mean?
If anything,
all you do is think about your own problems.
Someone that drives a Lamborghini outside, right? Like, how you see it, but how long does it stick in your mind? If anything, like you'll probably get hated on even more, So there's probably even that problem. But
jealousy,
people honestly, genuinely don't care what car you drive, what title you have, like. Just the way we think of our own life, and we're exactly as you said, we're in our own thoughts, and we're trying to get through life ourselves. The person across you is thinking the same thing as well. Like no one really sits down and labels you, or tries to analyze your life. Maybe they might for a bit or whatnot, but at the end of the day, best advice I could give even now is, even if there are people like that, you just don't worry about them. There's always going to be people that might try to take you down, and they might try to be jealous. So I feel like we've got to kind of address the other side as well, where these problems do exist. So there are genuine evil people out there. As I like to give Andrew Tate's example when he says, the devils walk among us. But yeah, like not to get into conspiracy theory or whatnot, but if there are people like that, the best thing and the only way out again is don't worry about it. Get out of your head, get out of your mind, and just move on. And as long as you're happy and you're content, that's all that matters.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well said. 100%.
Yeah. So just continuing on that, we're coming to the end of our podcast of episode 12. I'd definitely like to thank Gunnar Abi for coming here. He's my first guest on my page, and I really do hope that there are people watching out there. Both our aim and intention in making this obviously is to really get our voices out there. That's what I started my page, like the intention of my page is from the get-go. And I definitely will have more guests and encourage anyone out there to really speak up, right? And that's my main preach and pretty much the summary of all this. You don't need to have a title. You don't need to know about religion with a degree, or, be a sheikh or imam. And this isn't politics or to downgrade people, right? Like, because I feel like a lot of people, and it's sad, right? Because we always say, "Oh, I'm not the one to preach," or "I'm not." It doesn't work that way. Islam, religion is to you, right? Whatever religion you feel like, whatever you feel in your heart, and what your perspective is what it is. That's what God says, right? That's between you and God. And if you've got something to preach, you definitely should preach that, both in your personal life, both on social media, both with friends, wherever it is. And that's why I definitely love to encourage people to get their voice out there, because one thing that I can definitely tell everyone starting social media, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people that have started this page would kind of agree with me on that as well, where when you start seeing yourself on camera and you take that first step, you eventually, like I personally watch all my videos, I go over it, and you realize once you take that step, you go, like that block in your mind saying, "Oh, don't speak in front of a camera or don't preach," that vanishes because you've taken that step, you've done it. And now the next day when you look at, when you take another step, that will actually help you and encourage you, saying, you know what, I've already done a video. It wasn't the end of the world. And again, I'm not here for like the numbers or whatnot. I understand that this page right now is very new. It barely has any following, but um, I'll put it up either way, and I'll tell all my friends and my brothers and people on my people that like to come on this podcast as well. This will be up there, right? And whether someone watches it tomorrow or 2 years later, our intention again is to pretty much help anyone out there that can take the good in this, that can get any sort of help, any sort of insight into what they believe is right. And again, I always end my podcast and whatnot with take the good, leave the bad. You don't always have to agree with me or anyone out there. We're only here to just pretty much preach our positive vibes, but in no way are we trying to make a rule or say you have to follow this or you have to follow that. So just to pretty much wrap it up and conclude, what would be your last sort of final message out there to anyone that's watching?
Yeah, as Talha, pointed out beautifully, is basically, give yourself value. You don't have to be at a high level to provide value. We're all valuable. That's why we're alive, right? We're still alive. We're valuable members of this world. Allah gives us a lot of value. Don't devalue yourself. And take next week. We have Ramadan coming up. Obviously, it's like a mandatory sort of military service, I guess, for us to build ourselves for the rest of the year. Believe that you'll be one of those people that will reach salvation during this month and reach taqwa, and God would make the gates of Jahannam haram for you. Take it seriously. Try your very best, and when you come to the the other side of Ramadan, say I tried. I did it. If you have that feeling, then inshallah ta'ala you're forgiven,
Inshallah.
and you'll reap the benefits of it, and then it'll be a new start, new page to your life, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, Gunarabi. Thanks for coming. Hopefully,
Thanks for having me.
we'll continue again and have Gunarabi back for another episode again. That's it for episode 12, and we'll see you guys next time. Jazakallah. Thank you.
Thank you.